Forgotten love stays with me, even now. I am an old man, my hair has turned white, and my hands no longer feel strong. Each day I sit by the window and watch the trees outside my room. When the wind moves through the leaves, gentle and soft, memories return to me. They come slowly like waves on a quiet beach. Some memories warm my heart, while others bring tears to my eyes. I once had a wife named Sarah. She was gentle, beautiful, and her warm smile made even the hardest days feel lighter. Together, we raised three children, two boys and a girl. I worked long hours because I wanted to give my family the comfort I never had when I was young. Sarah stayed at home, caring for the children, cooking delicious meals, and helping them with their homework. Our house was filled with laughter, noise, and love. Years passed quickly, and the children grew older. They went to school, made their own friends, and slowly began spending less time at home. I tried to accept it, knowing that young people need space to discover who they are. But even so, a small part of me felt lonely. Whenever I worried, Sarah would touch my arm and say, "They will always return. They love us." And I believed her completely. Then one day, Sarah fell ill. She became too weak to leave her bed, and many long weeks passed with her fighting the sickness. I took care of her the best I could, cooking meals, cleaning the house, and staying beside her every night. I tried telling her funny stories to make her smile, but her strength was fading. One evening, she held my hand and whispered, "Look after the children. They still need you." That night, she closed her eyes gently and never opened them again. My heart shattered. The house became silent and empty. I hoped the children would stay close and help fill that silence, but they had their own lives to manage. They visited less often, and soon their small visits became rare. One afternoon, they sat with me and said it was not safe for me to live alone anymore. They suggested I move into a home for the elderly. I wanted to refuse, but deep down I knew they were right, even though the thought hurt me more than I expected. So I nodded, packed my things, and went with them. Now I live here in a place called the Golden Years Home. It is calm and tidy, and many other old people stay here too. Some talk to me, but most of the time we sit quietly in our own thoughts. The nurses are friendly, though always busy. They give me my meals, bring my medicine, and sometimes offer a quick smile. Every morning, I wake up early and sit by the window to watch the sunrise. For a brief moment, the colors in the sky give me peace. But once the day truly begins, the emptiness inside returns. I wonder about my children, where they are, whether they are happy, and if they still think of me. I remember carrying them on my shoulders, taking them to the park, buying them new toys, and teaching them to ride their bikes. My hands were tired in those days, but my heart was full. They were my pride and my joy. Now they feel so far away. I asked the nurse if she could mail the letters for me. She gave me a gentle smile and said, "Of course, Mr. Carter, I'll send them right away." For the first time in many weeks, a tiny spark of hope warmed my heart. The next morning, I walked out to the garden. The air felt cool and clean, and the flowers moved softly in the breeze. I sat on a wooden bench, closed my eyes, and imagined my children opening the envelopes. I pictured their faces as they read my words, maybe touched, maybe thinking about visiting me again. But the days passed quietly. There were no phone calls, no letters, no visits. My chest felt heavy, but I reminded myself to stay patient. Perhaps they were busy. Perhaps the letters would remind them. That evening, as I watched the sky turn dark through my window, the young boy who had visited before appeared again. He held a small drawing he had made, me sitting under a tree with a big smile. "This is for you," he said proudly as he handed it to me. My eyes watered and I whispered, "Thank you." my voice shaking. His simple kindness touched something deep inside me. Even when life felt dark, there were still moments of light. My children might not have been there, but this little boy gave me a reason to smile again. One morning, while I sat by the window as usual, the nurse came in holding a letter. "Mr. Carter," she said brightly, "you have mail." My heart jumped as she handed me the envelope. I recognized the handwriting immediately. It was from my eldest son. My hands trembled as I opened it and read each word carefully. He apologized for staying away for so long. He explained his busy job, his full schedule, and how he often thought of me even though he never found the time to visit. He promised he would come soon and bring his children, my grandchildren, who I had not seen in years. Tears filled my eyes. For the first time in months, I felt a glow of happiness. I read the letter over and over, wanting to remember every line. When I showed it to the nurse, she smiled and said, "You see, they do care, Mr. Carter." Her words comforted me, though part of me still wondered if the promised visit would ever happen. A week passed, then another. Every day I waited by the window, hoping to see his car pull into the driveway. Some of the other residents noticed my excitement and asked about it. "My son is coming," I told them proudly. Their kind reactions lifted my spirits. But as the days slipped by, doubt slowly crept in again. One afternoon, I sat at my small desk and wrote another letter, this time to my daughter. I told her about the message from her brother and how much it had meant to me. I reminded her of the long talks we used to have when she shared her dreams and fears with me. "I miss our conversations," I wrote, hoping she would remember. I gave the letter to the nurse and began waiting once more. It was difficult, but the memory of my son's letter kept my heart steady. I spent many afternoons in the garden with the young boy. He told me about his school, his favorite subjects, and his dream of becoming an artist. One day he brought another drawing, a picture of a family standing together under a tree. This is your family," he said, pointing to the smiling figures. His innocence brought fresh tears to my eyes, and I thanked him. I placed the picture beside my son's letter. Life was still quiet, but the boy's visits and the promise from my son gave me something to hold on to. I often thought of Sarah and how she would have told me to stay strong. "They will come," I whispered to myself every night before I fell asleep. As I lay in bed looking at the ceiling, I thought about everything, my life, my family, and the love I had tried to give them. "Maybe someday they will understand," I told myself, and slowly drifted to sleep, hoping tomorrow would bring good news. One bright morning, I woke to the sound of footsteps in the hallway, different from the usual sounds of the nurses. My heart started beating faster. I sat up, listening closely. Could it be him? Could it really be my son? The door opened slowly, and there he was, my eldest son, standing tall but looking unsure of himself. Behind him were two small children holding his hands. Tears filled my eyes instantly, and for a moment I couldn't speak. He stepped closer, his expression full of guilt and love. "Dad," he said softly, "I'm here." I opened my arms, and he leaned down to hug me. It was the first time in years that I had held him. His children, Emma and Liam, peeked at me shyly. He introduced them, and I greeted them with a warm smile. They giggled and handed me drawings they had made, one of a house with a garden and one of an old man smiling. "This is you, Grandpa," Liam said proudly. The room felt alive again. My son sat beside me, and we talked for hours. He told me about his job, his family, and how much he missed the old days. I listened carefully, happy just to hear his voice. I told him about the home, the kind nurses, and the little boy who often visited me. Before they left, my son promised This time I really will come again soon, Dad. And for once, I believed him. A few days later, my daughter arrived. She had received my letter and decided to visit. She hugged me tightly, and we talked about her life, her struggles, her hopes, her dreams. She apologized for staying away and promised to visit more. For the first time in years, I felt surrounded by love again. My children were beginning to understand that I had never wanted anything but their happiness. Their visits became more regular, and the emptiness inside me began to fade. The young boy continued to stop by with his cheerful drawings and stories. One day he looked at me and said, "You look happier now, Mr. Carter." I smiled and nodded. "Yes," I said softly, "I am." As the months passed, I realized something important. Life is not measured by how much you give, but by the moments you share with the people you love. My heart, once heavy with loneliness, now felt full of gratitude. I still missed Sarah deeply, but I knew she would be proud of me for holding on. Now, as I sit in the garden with my children and grandchildren beside me, I feel a calm peace in my heart, something I haven't felt in a long time.